In this video, I will show how an old coffee table got a second life. I added laser-cut marquetry to it and completely refreshed its look. Let's see how I did it. In this video, you will see the preparation of the old table. Laser cutting of parts, assembling the pattern, inserting the marquetry, the tabletop, sanding, finishing, and of course, the final result. Welcome to the HryArt channel. On this channel, I show woodworking projects, laser engraving, and restoration of old things. And today, we will give this table a second life. But the most interesting thing is that I did not make this table from scratch. I got it for free. It was old, a bit tired, and honestly looked like its time had passed. But when I looked at it more closely, I thought, what if I give it a second life? So I decided to try to make something completely new out of it. At this stage, I remove the tabletop from the table and transfer it to the laser machine. This is where one of the most precise parts of this project begins. First, I cut out the base in the tabletop itself according to the prepared pattern. Since this is marquetry, it is necessary to make a recess of exact depth so that the new material fits perfectly into the surface of the table. The table base is made of pine, and for the marquetry itself, I use birch veneer. I specifically chose a different wood species to create contrast between the materials and make the pattern more expressive. The thickness of the birch veneer is about 3.6 millimeters. Therefore, it is very important to set the correct cutting depth. The recess in the pine tabletop should be no less than 3.6 and no more than about 3.7. If it is cut deeper, the marquetry will be below the surface level. If it is shallower, the parts simply will not fit in place. After the base is cut, I use the same pattern to cut parts from the birch veneer. Thanks to this, all the elements should fit exactly and form a single pattern. When all the parts are ready, we can move on to the next stage, assembling the marquetry. At this stage, I first check all the elements of the work. I carefully examine each part and compare it with the main project stages to make sure everything is prepared correctly. After that, I fix some parts with masking tape. This is necessary so that nothing shifts or gets damaged during transportation or handling of the parts. When everything is prepared, I go to the mechanical workshop where the next important stage of work begins. Here I use a handheld router and various cutters for woodworking. First, I install a larger 20 diameter cutter. It allows me to quickly remove the main layer of material and form the basic shape. After that, I switch to a smaller cutter. It gives me more control over the process and allows me to work more precisely. In more complex and hard-to-reach places, I use an 8 diameter cutter. With its help, I carefully carve the groove where the veneer will be later placed. This stage requires special precision because the groove must be clean and even so that the veneer fits perfectly. Gradually, the shape becomes clearer and the work begins to take its final form. Now I move on to cleaning the hardest to reach places. These are various corners, spaces between tree branches, especially where there are many small details and it is difficult to reach with a tool. Here I use chisels and gouges of different shapes. They allow me to work carefully in narrow places and control every movement well. The most important thing is that the tool is well sharpened. A sharp chisel easily enters the wood and allows for clean and precise cuts. I work with pine. It is a fairly soft wood, so it processes well and carving is easy. In such work, patience is key. I gradually go corner by corner, carefully cleaning each detail. There is no need to rush here. It is better to move slowly and attentively to preserve the shape and not damage small elements. It is at this stage that all the details of the future image begin to clearly appear. After all the preparatory work, one of the most important and probably one of the most pleasant moments in this process comes installing the veneer. Now it is necessary to insert the previously laser-cut veneer into the prepared recess of the tabletop. For this, I use glue. I apply it generously both on the base and on the edges of the parts. It is important to glue all surfaces well so that the elements hold firmly and do not come off over time. After this, the most interesting part begins. I gradually lay the element after element, carefully placing each part in its place. The pattern starts to form right before your eyes. This is quite a special moment in the work. After all the difficult preparation, this is where you begin to see the result. There is even something a bit meditative in this process. The work proceeds calmly, without haste, and each new element gradually brings the whole composition to life. After that, I move on to sanding. At this stage, I level the entire surface and remove even the smallest irregularities. Sanding allows making the plane perfectly smooth and preparing it for the final appearance. I carefully go over the entire surface so that the wood becomes smooth and all the elements merge into one even composition. And here we come to the stage that truly brings the whole work to life, applying the protective varnish. It is the varnish that highlights the texture of the wood and unites all the elements into a single harmonious composition. Until this moment, the wood looks quite calm and even a bit pale. But as soon as the varnish touches the surface, everything begins to change. The pine becomes warmer, its color becomes richer and deeper. It acquires a pleasant golden hue. The birch also begins to look completely different, its texture becomes more expressive, and the wood grain reveals itself much better. When the varnish evenly covers the entire surface, all the details start working together. Contrasts become sharper, shapes more distinct, and the whole composition looks complete. It is at this stage that the work truly comes alive. If you enjoy watching wood come to life, subscribe to the channel. Many interesting projects are ahead. And finally, the last stage of the work, assembling the table. I turn the tabletop onto the base and attach it to the legs. Everything needs to be properly aligned, checked, and securely fixed. I screw in the self-tapping screws and make sure that all joints are strong and nothing wobbles. For this table, I use the same screws as before because I remind you this table is not new, it is a restored table that has received a second life. When everything is secured, you can look at the result. For this, I use my rotating stand which I made in the previous video. Thanks to it, you can easily rotate the table and examine the work from all sides. It is very convenient but also simply interesting to watch the finished piece slowly turn and show all the details of the work. And at this very moment you realize the work is complete. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this kind of woodworking, subscribe to the channel, and write in the comments what you think about this project.